Hey, can you hear me now? I didn't turn on my microphone. Microphone's on now.
Again.
Okay.
Today's Adan plays through his old people game.
It's not actually today. So let me start over from the beginning. It is not a damn place with old people game. It's a damn place with his backlog. Today is Wednesday. Welcome to Wednesday. Welcome to a damn place with his backlog. And I realized earlier that today is the first time I'm playing on the Switch on stream in quite some time. Because I've been playing all the Zeldas on the Switch, so I've been playing it at least once a week on stream. But then we've been playing the Wind Waker for the last couple of weeks, and then I took a couple of weeks off. There was the holiday period where I got sick, and there's a couple of times where we missed it for whatever reason. I had to shift a damn Playthrough's backlog to the Thursday, etc., etc., etc. So I've not played the Switch on stream in quite some time. So we're playing it for today. We're playing a game called To Be or Not to Be. It is a sort of it's a visual novel / text adventure type of situation, and it features Hamlet. It's the play Hamlet by William Shakespeare, but you get to choose different ways for the various characters to die, which you wouldn't think is a vein for comedy, but Ryan North, the writer of this, is a very funny writer. I like him a lot. He has books. He has comics. If you've never read anything by Ryan North, I highly, highly, highly recommend the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl series that he did for Marvel. You don't need to read anything else. If you've never, well, that's quite loud, isn't it? Well, let me turn down the game audio a bit. Okay. If you've never read a single Marvel superhero comic before in your entire life, don't even worry about it. You can pick up Unbeatable Squirrel Girl on its own and read it the whole way through. It is hilarious. It is heartwarming. It is a beautiful book. It is one of the best things I've ever read in my life. And I highly recommend it to everyone, regardless of reading background or reading preference or reading anything. Obviously, if you don't read comics at all, then reading this comic might be a little bit difficult, but you should still try. Everyone should try to learn how to read comics. Also, this game is based on William Shakespeare's Hamlet, and while I can no longer wear my Klingon Shakespeare t-shirt because I bought it a long time ago when I was still svelte and thin, and now I am much fatter, and I had to give that shirt away, I am still wearing a Klingon shirt. And down here I believe it says, "Today's a good day to die," which is what this game is all about. It's about dying. So here we go. Press A. With the assistance of Screen Australia. Good. I don't actually know how long this game is. We may be able to complete the whole thing today. It's possible. Would you like to enable narration? Yes. I don't want to read it all. You can tell the narration at any time in the options under font and sound. For example, achievements and art still unlocked while narration is enabled, but notifications will not be displayed. Got it. Thanks. So, to be or not to be. I assume the other characters from Hamlet will also show up. It won't just be Hamlet, Ophelia, and Hamlet Sr.
William Shakespeare, 1564 AD to whenever he died, was well known for borrowing from existing literature when writing his plays. Romeo and Juliet is pretty much lifted entirely from Arthur Brooks' poem, The Tragical History of Romulus and Juliet. Dude didn't even change the names. And as recent Shakespeare scholarship has established, the famed play William Shakespeare Presents Hamlet was lifted wholesale from the volume you are about to enjoy. To Be or Not to Be. To Be or Not to Be is both the earliest recorded example of the books as game genre, as well as the first instance ever in the then newish English language that was kicking around of an adventure being chosen by you, the reader. We've gone ahead and added illustrations, plus we've taken the liberty of marking with tiny York skulls the choices Shakespeare himself made when he plagiarized his book back in olden times. They're there in case you wish to put yourself in Shakespeare's shoes, reading this book as he did, stealing plot elements wholesale, and classing up the language as he/you went/go. However, that is not the only way to read this book. Feel free to explore your other options, as each time you read this book, you can go on a different adventure.
Okay.
Assuming you don't read the book like 3 quadrillion times, at which point the adventures will start to repeat, and they'll probably seem pretty familiar long before then anyway. Now, take yourself back to history, when ghosts walked the earth and nobody knew velociraptors were even a thing. Steel yourself to experience the magic of Shakespeare as it was meant to be experienced, in a non-deterministic narrative structure, where you end up thinking maybe you made a wrong decision, So you mark the pages you were just on, so you can always go back and make a different choice if you die for some dumb reason. To be or not to be, that is the adventure.
Sorry, all
Choose
hail
your
the...
character.
Goddamn. All hail the King of the
Man,
North.
What if I just read the acknowledgements instead?
Man, what if I just read the acknowledgements instead? You can't tell me to do, smart guy. Just keep reading. So, obviously, that bit at the beginning about how Shakespeare stole stuff, the Romeus and Juliet thing doesn't exist, neither does to be or not to be. But there are theories that Shakespeare stole some of his work from other playwrights like Kit Marlowe, Christopher Marlowe, etc. I don't know. All these plays and poetry are still ascribed to William Shakespeare, so you know. I'm gonna keep reading. How about that?
Whoa, slow down there, cowboy. At the end of that last bit, you were supposed to make a choice, and then jump to the page that reflects that choice. Instead of following those instructions, you just kept reading what came next like this is an ordinary book. This book is crazy insane. How are you even acting like this is an ordinary book? You die without even having chosen your character. The end. And your final score is maybe learn to read books better sometime. Out of 1,000.
Hilarious. I assume that's Ryan North?
Dude, that's not a very good score, I gotta say.
Okay, wait, I got this. Let me try this page turning thing again. Okay, so. What if I just read the acknowledgements instead? No book comes together without an author.
No book comes together without an author feeling like Thon's in debt to someone. Thanks to Metafilter for all the terrific advice on how to dispose of a body and not get caught. Spoiler alert, there are murders in this book. They have a page just about this, did you know that? They're one of the top search results for how to dispose of a body. And I guess also thanks to the Canadian Security Intelligence Service for not getting me in trouble, yet. After I ran all those searches for how to dispose of a body, and I want to know how to get rid of a dead human body, and gross dead body, plus how to hide it. And what if I committed the murder act? How do I ditch the body and not go to jail? It's an emergency. Thanks also to Chef Michael Smith, Emily Horn, and William Shakespeare for the stew recipe. Spoiler alert, you can learn to make stew in this book too. It's not murders all the time. For the expansive knowledge of boats and the seas in which they sail. Spoiler alert, play your cards right in this book, and you just might gain command of a pirate ship.
Ooh.
Just be cool. And for ripping me off and making this book so famous. But which thank you applies to which person? That is for you to decide. Yes, even here in this acknowledgement parenthetical, it's up to you to choose your own adventure. But I mean, come on, it's pretty obvious. Thanks to all my artist friends who drew all these pretty pictures in the book. You've made death into a visually stunning treat, and thanks to Chrissy Calhoun for copy editing this book and fixing all my dumb mistakes. Any that remain, I added in afterwards because of brain problems. Finally, thanks to Joey Camo for his skills at chess, Ray Fox for his skills at Mad Libs, my extremely awesome wife Jen for being extremely awesome, and to my brother, Victor, who confirmed over walkie-talkie that the idea for this book was rad. And thanks to you for buying this book, or at least picking it up and flipping to this page. That took initiative. As a reward, you get to continue enjoying reading this book. Okay, I'm ready now. I will choose my character.
Okay.
No. I'd rather read more acknowledgements. You know what? I want to know more about the author before I commit to anything. You know what? I want to be the author before I commit to anything. Gosh, well, I suppose if we're really doing this, then I also want to thank everyone involved in the series of events that led to me being here today, able to write and tell jokes for a living, which means I'm thanking pretty much everyone I've ever interacted with, and I'm also thanking everyone they've ever interacted with for helping to make them so awesome. And if I'm doing that, I should probably thank the people who influenced the people who interacted with the people who influenced me as well, right? Thank you, a large percentage of the planet that I'm pretty sure reaches 100%. But these people didn't just pop into existence fully formed. My thanks take a step sideways and begin racing back in time, up past everyone's parents and grandparents, and great-great-great-great-grandparents. Thanking them all as we go, further and further, grandparents getting hairier and hairier, Until my thanks coalesce all the way back to 200,000 years ago in East Africa with mitochondrial Eve, the one woman from which every single human alive today descends. Thank you, mitochondrial Eve. My thanks speed up, thanking faster and faster back in time, humanity devolving before our eyes. My thanks extend to the first human, passed through Australopithecus, and then on through great apes. Thank you, great apes. Without you, none of us would be here. But my thanks are still speeding up, tearing through the primates, then the tree shrews, then the placental mammals. We're 125 million years in the past, thanking everyone we meet. We go back further, thanking the early vertebrates, watching them get smaller, simpler, until there's no animal life on land, and you blink and it's 2,100,000,000 years ago. And we're thanking the very first cell with a nucleus, alone in the ocean. Thank you, very first cell with a nucleus. You're a neat little guy. You started some really cool stuff. We watch the cells around us get simpler, more primitive, and then they're gone. My thanks are rushing backwards almost impossibly quickly through this empty planet when suddenly we're watching the Earth itself break apart, diffusing into a tremendous cloud of dust and gas. Mixed in here are the beginnings of all the other planets in our solar system, plus all the material that would one day become our sun. We're 4,568,000,000 years in the past, and we are thanking a lifeless hunk of diffuse matter with all our heart. As we're doing that, it combines itself with a colossal molecular cloud, a stellar nursery from which a whole bunch of suns would eventually form, including our own. Thank you, giant molecular cloud, 65 million light-years wide. You were probably very pretty. The universe around us is contracting, getting smaller and denser and hotter, until we're in a universe only a few meters across and shrinking at an incredibly fast rate. 13 billion years in the past, we are thanking the entire universe, which right now is mostly superheated plasma with a colossally high energy density. We would hug all that is, and ever would be, if we could, but we can't, so we say thanks instead. Thank you, the universe, as it existed a mere 10 to the power of minus 37 seconds after the Big Bang. If you really are sensitive to initial conditions, then I hope nobody ever goes back in time to mess with you. And then, at last and finally, my thanks race just a little past the origins of the Big Bang, give secret unknowable props all around, and careen back to the present where you're here reading this book. Hey, thanks, babe. I think we covered everyone. Read about the author.
Read about the author.
Ryan North was born on October 20th, 1980. Since then, he has done the following things. This is not an exhaustive list. Failed to die for over 11,322 days in a row. Eaten food and then converted that food into ideas. Kissed over 5 different people not from his family, all of whom totally came back for more. Studied computer science and computational linguistics and graduated from university. Twice. Written the online comic Dinosaur Comics. It's that comic with dinosaurs that you love.
That's right, he did
Coined
Dinosaur
the
Comics. I
anthology
forgot about
Machine
that.
of Death, which is a book about people who know how they will die. Written the Adventure Time comic book series, which has a lot of really awesome stuff going on in it. Analyzed the novelization of Back to the Future in way more detail than probably anyone could have anticipated. Gotten married and adopted a dog named Noam Chomsky. Oh, and he totally wrote this book. Okay, your stalling tactics are really easy to see through and also really confusing because it's not like someone has a gun to your head and is forcing you to read this book, right? If this is indeed the case, and you are totally fine, let me know by not sending a message back in time to me to the very moment I'm reading these words, which is March 25th, 2013. First hour, 11th minute, 34th second, p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, terrific. We're good. All you can do now is choose your character.
Alright.
You have just been born. Congratulations, good work on that thing. Now, surprise! Babies are boring, so we're gonna jump ahead in time to a point where you're an adult, and you've already lived a bunch of your life.
Babies are
But
boring.
I promise, most of what we're skipping over was really dull. You ate a lot, and slept a lot, and made some friends, tears were shed, makeouts were totally had, etc. It was a bunch of high school stuff. The awesome stuff starts now. So, let's begin, my friend.
Alright.
Remind me again who you are. Are you Ophelia? She's an awesome lady in her late 20s with a calm, competent, and resourceful demeanor. She's got a +1 bonus to science, but she's also got a -1 weakness against water. So heads up.
She drowns. She
Hamlet?
drowns in the Hamlet.
He's an emo teen in his early 30s. Also, he's the Prince of Denmark. Hamlet has a +1 resistance to magic, but there's no magic in this adventure, so this never gets mentioned again as of right now. Hamlet Sr? He's the king of Denmark, 50 years old. He's super good at fighting and leading men into battle in naps. Let's say +1 to each? Look, bottom line, he's an unstoppable machine of death, and should you choose to be him, you may experience kingly glory. Play as Ophelia. Play as Hamlet. Play as Hamlet Sr.
So obviously, that little skull there at the set, I think they said this very early on in the game, that little skull on the right-hand side of the choice is what Shakespeare chose when he was playing this book, right? So I'm going to play as Ophelia first, because then everything's going to be very different.
Right. You're Ophelia. You are a beautiful and independent young woman.
Damn right I am.
Although it makes you roll your eyes when you think about it, you've fallen in love with a prince. Prince Hamlet is funny and charming, and he seems to like you a lot. You try not to get too excited about it, because you're worried you might jinx it. But things really are going great. Only it's been hard doing the long-distance thing while you've both been off at university. And while you've loved studying capital S science, and you're sure Hamlet's loved studying capital U undeclared,
Undeclared.
it hasn't been easy. Now that you're both back together in Denmark for his father's funeral and his mother's second wedding, it's been harder still. Hamlet's really sad, and you can't blame him for that since, you know, his dad died. But you wish there was something you could do to help him. When you last saw him, Hamlet mentioned how the castle seemed cold and drafty, and for some reason it stuck with you. You've been sitting at your desk, trying to think of something you could give him that would help with that. A way of cheering him up a little. Remind him he's still got people who care about him. He wears these cloaks all the time, but then he's taking them off in warm rooms and putting them back on in cold ones. If only there was some way you could keep the rooms at a uniform temperature, he wouldn't need to be constantly adjusting his clothes throughout the day. But to do that, you'd need some way of measuring heat, and a way of transporting it through the castle. Perhaps through a series of pipes. Your thoughts are interrupted by a knock at your door.
Who is it?
You call.
It's me.
Says your brother.
Come on, let me in.
Let him in. Tell him you're busy.
Oh. I'm busy. I'm busy thinking about...
I'm busy.
You shout through the door to Larides.
I'm leaving for France soon.
He shouts back.
Don't you want to say goodbye? Apparently not.
You shout in reply.
Whatever.
Larides yells. He storms off, stomping all the way. You sit in silence for a moment. He stomps back.
Say bye to Dad for me, okay?
He shouts.
Okay, I will.
You yell through the door. He storms off again. To France, I guess? Brothers, am I right? Return to your work. At your desk, you continue your work on the problem of automatically heating the castle. Hours turn into days and you're generally left alone by both your family and your boyfriend. Your father ignoring you is no big deal, and while you're a little worried about Hamlet not stopping by more often, he has asked you to leave him alone for a while he mourns, and you're respecting his wishes. But if you're going to be honest with yourself, you've also just gotten really absorbed in this problem. You decide to split the problem into sections, delivering heat and knowing when to deliver heat. It would be possible to put servants in every room and have them report when it's too cold, but that's both expensive and unreliable. It depends on the servant, the warmth of their clothes, how much they love to lie to people about what temperature their skin is sensing, and so on. You're wandering the castle grounds when it hits you. You've been thinking about how water expands when it freezes, and how that could be used to tell you when it's cold, but it's not much use for measuring temperatures outside the freezing point. Your father, Polonius, happens to wander by, talking to himself about the evils of drink, and you realize, alcohol! The right alcohol would expand linearly with heat, and by putting it in a slender glass vial, you could measure the size of that liquid, which would correspond 1-to-1 with temperature. Put the same markings on each of these glass vials at the same temperatures, and you've got a universal, comparable, and consistent way of measuring heat.
Wow, she just
You
has a
wouldn't have to
thermometer.
rely on a servant's impression. They could just tell you what line the alcohol has reached. You run back to your room to start working on the prototype. Just as you complete it, you hear a knock at your door.
Who is it?
You call. And oh my, who should answer from the other side of the door? Seriously, who should answer from the other side of the door? Your boyfriend Hamlet. Your father Polonius. Your best friend Dramesio Mimus.
That one.
Hamlet is at the door.
What?
That's right. Turns out that simply wishing for someone to be at your door doesn't change who's actually there. You don't control reality with your thoughts, Ophelia. Sheesh. Anyway, Hamlet opens the door and steps into your room. It's me, he says. You haven't seen each other for a while. It's so great to see him. You run up and throw your arms around him and you smooch. It's just like old times.
Smooch?
But the moment passes, and when you look at his face, you can see concern written all over it. He's troubled by something. Ask him what's troubling him.
Yeah.
You ask him what's wrong, and, well, there's no other way to put this, so I'll give it to you straight. Hamlet tells you about a spooky ghost and a plan for murdering his stepfather Claudius, pretender to the throne. I'll be frank, it sounds crazy. A ghost? Murder? But he is your friend and lover, and you're not going to leave him hanging out to dry. As gently as you can, you tell him you're pretty sure ghosts don't exist. But even if they do, he needs to be certain that the ghost he saw was actually the ghost of his father. What if it was some other ghost trying to mess things up? That seems to give him pause. Hamlet admits he never actually asked the ghost for information only his dad would know. It's possible the ghost could be an imposter.
I'll come with you tonight, sweetie.
You say.
We'll go together, and if a ghost shows up, we'll figure out what to do.
You're confident no ghost will appear, and this will all just go away. You take his hand and squeeze. Hamlet looks up at you, and you can see his relief. Okay, he says, smiling. Go to see the ghost that evening.
Yep. I mean, that's the only choice that I have, so yeah. Let's do that.
Evening comes, and Hamlet leads you to the spot outside where he first saw the ghost. We have to wait till around midnight, he says. I think that's when he normally shows up. To pass the time, you play a storytelling game you enjoy, where you say one word of a story, and he says the next word, and neither of you knows where the story will go.
Once,
You begin. Upon, he says.
A,
You say. Time, he says.
there.
You say. Was, he says.
A,
You say. Beautiful, he says, looking at you. You smile.
Prince.
You reply, and he smiles back. Who? He says.
Wanted.
You say. Two, he says.
Kiss.
You say. His girlfriend, he says.
That's cheating.
You say. And then you're kissing. Make out for a while. Don't make out, because, and you can't believe you're thinking this, but what if a ghost catches you making out?
We're gonna make out for a while.
You make out for what turns out to be quite a while, as the night is warm and the stars are stunning and there are no bugs here to bite any exposed flesh, and before you know it, you've totally made out as much as it's possible to totally make out. Nice. And you fall asleep in each other's arms. If ghosts exist, and if one really did show up, he certainly had the good grace to leave you alone for your makeouts. Also, he was probably embarrassed. You were both way naked.
Whoa, that's not how you make
The two
out.
of you return to the same spot the next evening, and the evenings after that. But it becomes more and more a date night, and less a specter from beyond the grave wants to get some murders done thing. King Claudius and Polonius are not exactly thrilled with the two of you being together, but on the flip side, any urges to commit regicide that were floating around have begun to fade too. Though you talk about it often, the whole encounter with the ghost, if it really did happen, takes on the quality of a dream. Rather than do the long-distance thing again, you decide to move in together and get your own place
Yay.
here in Denmark. Together, the two of you work on finalizing the invention of the alcohol thermometer. It works. And even figure out the other half of it, a way to move heated air throughout a building. Congratulations, you invented central heating. It's an invention that all of Denmark wants, and most are willing to pay for. While it's not the largest, you do live in the most comfortable estate in the entire country, thanks to the heating money. One bright summer day, as the two of you walk through the castle garden, you get down on one knee and say words to the effect of, "Sweetie, you're the most important person in my life, and I can't imagine ever living without you. I want to make you as happy as you make me every single day. Let's get married." You mean every word. It's not the most traditional proposal in the world, nor is it the most traditional wedding, but it's wonderful and beautiful and perfect. You're very happy. You don't invite Claudius to the wedding. A few years later, Claudius falls ill with some sort of lung disease, and his doctors are unable to treat it effectively. He passes away only a few months later, having never produced an heir. Shortly after, the two of you become the new king and queen of all of Denmark. Your first child, Alex, is born 5 months later, and you all live very happily ever after. The
Huzzah!
end.
It's time for the Hamlo-meter. To be, hot stuff, wild thing, kissable, ho-hum, cold fish, not to be. Am I supposed to press something? Oh no, it's doing it by itself. Not to be. Boo. Your stats disadventure. Why is she holding a knife and a gun? Choices made, 15. Times you were, 1. Times you were not, 0. Games of tennis played, 0. What? You create a better story than Shakespeare. Why not use Limitless Power to go on an all-new adventure? Ah, restart from a checkpoint. Oh, that's it? Alright. Alright.
You have just been born. Congratulations, good work on that thing. Now, surprise! Babies are boring, so we're gonna jump ahead in time to a point where you're an adult.
We're gonna skip
You've
all
already
this.
lived a bunch of your life. But I promise most of what
Alright,
we're
we're gonna
skipping
play.
over was really
We're
dull.
gonna play Ophelia again.
Right. You're Ophelia. You are a beautiful and independent young woman.
We'll do it.
And although
We'll
it makes
let
you roll your
Laertes
eyes
come
when
in
you
this
think
time.
about it, you've fallen in love with a prince. Prince Hamlet is funny and charming, and he seems to like you a lot. You try not to get too excited about it, because you're worried you might jinx it. But things really are going great.
Actually, no. Let's do. Tell him you're busy.
I'm busy.
You
and
shout
then
through the
we'll
door to
do-
Laertes. I'm leaving. At your desk, you continue your work on the problem of automatically heating the
We
castle.
won't smooch with the
Hours
ghost
turn into
side.
days and you're You decide you want Hamlet to be on the other side of the door. Open it, and Hamlet really is at the door. That's so freaky.
It's funny.
How'd you do that? Hamlet steps into your room. You haven't seen each other for a while. It's so great to see him. You run up and throw your arms around him and you kiss. You ask him what's wrong, and, well, there's no other way to put this. So,
Alright.
evening comes, and Hamlet leads you to the spot outside where he first saw the ghost. We have to wait till around midnight, he says.
Okay,
Think
this
that's
is
when
what
he
this one.
normally- You turn your head away after a few smooches.
That's enough.
You say.
We don't want your dad catching us making out.
Hamlet grins and pulls you close to him. I think he'd be cool with it, he says. That's a weird thing to say, but you excuse it because you know people can say some really weird things when they're way horny. You kiss some more, but finally push him away for real this time.
What makes you think he wants to spend the afterlife watching us make out?
You say. Well, it's what I'd want to do, he says with a smile. I mean, if I were me and I was also the ghost, he explains. You're about to reply when you're interrupted by an awkward cough coming from above you? Looking up, you see what for all the world looks like Hamlet's dad,
Oh,
Hamlet Sr., only he's transparent and floating, and you can see through his bod. Hey guys, the ghost says. You're too shocked to say anything. Ghosts are real, Ophelia. Surprise.
huh.
Hamlet looks up at the ghost and waves. Hi, Dad, he says. Demand the ghost prove that he's who he claims to be. It doesn't matter who he is. The real question is if this ghost is so big into murdering dudes, why doesn't he just murder Claudius himself? Riddle him that.
Demand the ghost proof. Yeah, I mean that's why we're here, right? So let's do that one.
Excuse me.
You say. The ghost pretends not to hear you.
Excuse me, Mr. Ghost?
You inquire, raising your hand.
Sup?
Says the ghost.
So,
How do we know you're really Hamlet Sr.?
You ask.
Oh,
Says the ghost.
oh.
hey, Kermie.
I guess. Ask me some things only Hamlet's dad would know.
You do so. They're pretty boring questions about family junk. You're not missing out on anything by me not including them here, and the ghost answers them perfectly. Better still, he answers them as only Hamlet Sr. could answer them, and even makes a reference to a running joke you two had a few months ago,
I can't gobble this.
says the ghost. And then together the two of you shout, "It's too spicy!" And then you're laughing like what you just said is the funniest thing ever in time. I don't get it. I guess you had to be there. Anyway, this is totally the ghost of Hamlet's dad. Identity confirmed.
Huzzah!
Talk about the murder.
Talk about the murder.
You go over the basics of the murder plot with the ghost and Hamlet, and surprise, you see some flaws in it that Hamlet somehow missed.
So, Hamlet is supposed to murder Claudius.
You say. Yes, Hamlet and the ghost reply, in unison. Then they notice they replied in unison and fist bump each other. Well, the ghost fist goes through Hamlet's fist and stops a little inside it, but you can see what they were going for.
And then Claudius will be dead, and Hamlet will be king.
You say. Yes, Hamlet and the ghost reply, in unison again. And then they fist bump each other again, and it's even more off this time. They're not even aligned horizontally with each other. Come on, guys.
Come on, guys.
So what's to prevent Claudius from becoming a ghost and seeking his own revenge?
You say, raising one eyebrow. Says the ghost.
In fact, can ghosts kill each other? Because then, the best case for us is that one of you ghost kills the other and then considers himself revenged. Worst case is that you can't kill each other but instead exist as ghosts forever, which means that the two of you, each with an endless list of sins from long before anyone left alive was born, will continue to meddle in the living world, revenging yourself against each other, back and forth, for millennia to come.
Oh, I think...
The ghost begins, then coughs.
No, yeah. I think you only become a ghost under certain circumstances.
Like being murdered when you still have things you want to complete on this mortal plane?
You ask.
Oh, right. That would apply to Claudius, too.
The ghost says.
Huh.
Continue talking the ghost out of murder. Make a counter-argument for murder being a good idea.
We haven't killed anyone yet, but we're going to continue talking the ghost out of murder.
Even if we take all the ghost creation issues out of the equation,
You go on.
there's still the matter of revenge, on its own, not being an ethical act.
Not to mention the complicated issues surrounding vigilante capital punishment.
The ghost says.
Exactly. I'm sorry, Ghost King Hamlet, but I don't think this is a super rad idea.
You say. Prince Hamlet nods in agreement.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well, do what you can to punish him for my murder, though. Cool?
The ghost says. You agree to work to uncover proof of the murder, and then work within the legal system to achieve a fair punishment for Claudius.
Sounds reasonable.
Says the ghost.
All right, I guess I'm out. Thanks for the talk. I found it really useful.
You and Hamlet do some legwork and track down where Claudius got the poison. The poison monger identifies Claudius in the lineup. Even though he's the king, Claudius is not above the law, and the case goes to court. The prosecution has no witnesses to the actual murder, but means, motive, opportunity, and tons of circumstantial evidence. Claudius is found guilty of regicide and sentenced to 30 years in prison. He's sent to Verona, where he won't get any special treatment from the two gentlemen drafted to guard his cell. Hamlet's father is still dead, and this won't bring him back, but on the other hand, he's also a ghost and you can talk to him at night. It's a pretty fair verdict, measure for measure. So, turns out you scored a possible 100 out of 100 in legal justice points.
Woo!
But unfortunately, you only got, like, a 3 in adventure points. Man,
Oh.
that's baloney. That's what you get for working within the pre-existing legal system, instead of employing unpredictable vigilante adventurism. Am I right? The end.
Yay! That's Claudius in the lineup. Alright. Oh, I skipped it. Your stats this adventure, beach sail. This almost looks like Kate Beaton. Fist bump, 2. Choices made, 10. Times you were, 1. Times you were not, 0. Alright. Alright, let me see. Restart from a checkpoint. Let's... Oh, I still only choose... Alright, we'll go through the zip again.
You have just been born. Congratulations, good work on that thing. Now, surprise!
We're gonna
babies
pick
are born,
Ophelia
so we're gonna
again.
jump ahead in time to... Right, you're Ophelia. You are a beautiful and independent young woman, and although it makes you roll your eyes...
So we're gonna keep...
I'm busy.
Until
shout through the
we
door
get
to
to
Larry.
the...
At your desk, you continue your work on the problem of automatically heating the castle. Hours... Hamlet is at the door. That's right. Turns out that simply
Okay.
wishing for someone to be at your door doesn't change who's actually there. You don't control reality. You ask him what's wrong, and, well, there's no other way to... Evening comes, and Hamlet leads you to the spot outside where he first saw the ghost. We have to wait till... You turn your head away after a few smooches.
That's enough.
You say.
We don't want... Excuse me.
Yeah.
You say. The ghost pretends not to... You go over the basics of the murder plot with the ghost and Hamlet, and surprise, you see some flaws in it that Hamlet
Alright, so
somehow
now we're
missed.
going to make a counter argument for murder being a good idea.
Hamlet is supposed to... On the other hand,
You say, meeting the gazes of both Hamlet and the ghost.
the greatest proof that immortal ghosts aren't possible is that we're not overrun with them right now.
The ghost blinks. He hadn't considered that.
You're the first ghost I've seen, Hamlet Sr. And if ghosts live forever, I expect I'd already have been bothered by caveman ghosts long ago. Each of them demanding that I go smashing some other
Hey, zombie.
descendant's head to make up for when they got their heads smashed in hundreds of generations before I was even born. Old hatreds lasting forever, ancient slights never forgotten, the embarrassing prejudices of our grandparents multiplied 1,000 times.
You trail off, imagining how frustrating it would be to explain to an angry and confused and immortal pre-linguistic caveman who can walk through walls how to better cope with, say, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes?
Right.
Says the ghost, considerably cheered. He holds up one finger.
So either immortal ghosts have better things to do with their time, which is good,
He says. He then holds up a second finger.
or I'm the first immortal ghost, which is good because then they're really unlikely and we can't expect that Claudius would be the second one.
He pauses, then holds up a third finger.
Or I'm going to ghost die someday, which is bad.
Not that bad.
You say.
After all, you've died once before, and you came through it all right. You can float now.
True.
Says the ghost, floating.
Okay, so are you guys in or what? Will you murder Claudius and avenge my death?
Tell the ghost you are in. Tell the ghost you are out.
We're in.
Yes, let's definitely murder someone,
We're in,
you say.
aren't we, Hamlet?
Hamlet nods. The two of us will avenge you, Father, he says, solemnly.
Neato.
Replies the ghost.
Neato.
2 heads are better than 1, right? Okay, well, I'm gonna go now. Be sure to let me know when he's dead.
His transparent body is turning to leave when you realize something.
Wait,
You shout, and the ghost stops.
you can become invisible and walk around places, right? Float in the sky whenever you want. All that stuff.
Totes.
Says
Totes.
the ghost.
Okay, well, can you go do some reconnaissance for us? You know, follow Claudius around. Let us know his habits. If we're going to kill him, it'd help to know where he usually hangs out.
That's easy. He gets drunk in the same tavern every night.
The ghost says.
Then he goes home and falls asleep.
The ghost looks at you.
If I were you, I'd kill him while he's drunk and asleep.
He says and disappears. You and Hamlet are left staring at each other.
Okay, well, let's make a list of all the ways to kill a dude.
You suggest. You and Hamlet spend the next few days making up just such a list together. And now it's done. It's pretty cool. You should probably look at it. Examine list. Ways to Murder a King by Ophelia and Hamlet. Poison in the ear. Done before. We know it works. Stabs. Not always fatal. I saw a dude get stabbed in the leg and then pull out the sword. It was awesome. Signed Hamlet. Stabs in eye. Always fatal. Probably. Suffocation. Easy if Claudius is sleeping, hard if Claudius is awake and not wanting to suffocate, but easy again if Claudius is in space. Signed Ophelia. Drowning. Requires water. Explosion. Requires explosions. Implosion.
Implosion.
Even harder, but might be fun. Bladder explosion. Requires water, no bathrooms, social pressure. Old age. Requires patience. Liberal, definition of murder. Murder him, but just make it look like old age. Requires makeup? Get him to read a book that's just like the murder he committed, and then he'll get nervous and confirm his guilt, and then we can stab him. Requires book? Also seems like stabs would be easier. Signed Ophelia. Make him accidentally pass a law that says he has to be murdered before the law can be repealed. Note, Hamlet insists that we put this here because it's crazy enough to work. Signed Ophelia. Blast him into space, which the ghost came back while we were writing this to explain as a vast vacuum, where there's no air. See suffocation. Looking over the list, you decide to trim it down a little before you make your choice. You come up with a short list of serious contenders. Stabs, as it's the simplest and there's swords here, like everywhere. Drowning, as you think you can make it look like an accident. Blast him into space, because Hamlet insists on it, and and also the stupid book one because, again, Hamlet insists on it. Hamlet's pretty satisfied with the list. Your call, Ophelia, he says. What do you choose? Stabs. Drowning. Blast him into space.
Oh god, I kind of want to do blast him into space.
Get him to read a book that's just like the murder he committed, and then he'll get nervous and confess, and then we can stab him.
Alright, let's blast him into space.
Awesome. I'm glad you chose this option. Awesome, Hamlet says. I'm glad you chose this option. So, wow, it seems everyone is down with this course of action, Ophelia. Okay, so space travel hasn't been invented yet. If it ever will be, I don't know, because I am from history too, so this is going to be a bit tricky. You and Hamlet spend most of your time trying to invent rocket ships, but this is with old-timey technology, which is like tarps and stuff, so needless to say, it doesn't work. However, a few months into your research, you begin to think that if you can't reach the stars, second best isn't so bad. And so you and Hamlet get Claudius drunk and put him in a giant wicker basket attached to a hot air balloon, which is the thing you did manage to invent. Then you send him so far up, he suffocates to death in the thin air up there. And then the balloon explodes due to the low atmospheric pressure. And then when his body hits the ground, it explodes too. So I guess the saying is wrong after all, and really, revenge is a dish best served at slightly below body temperature. Dropped from a great height, and observed from a safe distance.
Yes! So I recognize some of this artwork. Alright, I don't press A this time. Let's see what we got on the Hamlo meter. Last time we got not to be. Oh, not to be again. Boo. Let's see my stats. Your stats this adventure. Fist bump, 2. Choices made, 13. Times you were, 1. Times you were not, 0. Alright. We start from a checkpoint. Yes! This one.
Ways to Murder a King by Ophelia and Hamlet. Poison.
Oh, we
in the
did this
ear.
already.
Done
Okay.
before. We know it works. Stabs. Not always fatal. I saw a dude get stabbed in the leg and then pull out the sword. It was awesome. Signed, Hamlet.
Alright, let's do the
Stabs
this
in
one.
eye. Awesome, says Hamlet.
We don't know any writers, though.
You say. Not a problem, replies Hamlet. For among my princely duties is studying English literature. Also, Danish literature,
I mean, that's great, but that doesn't make you a writer.
you say.
Just like being a history major doesn't make you, I don't know, Julius Caesar?
Please, Ophelia, Hamlet says, taking your hand. Give me a week, and you'll have your book. So you give him his week. In that week, you stay mostly in your room, and don't hear much from Hamlet. King Claudius seems happy that Hamlet has disappeared from view, so not much happens. Oh, you do figure out a way to measure the specific gravity of alcohol while Hamlet's busy. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're still working on
All
it.
it requires is a flask that's weighed 3 times. Once empty, once full of water, and once full of the liquid you're measuring. And then you can... But why am I telling you this? You invented the whole technique. Anyway, a week later, Hamlet runs into your room clutching a manuscript. I finished the book, he says.
Excellent. Can I read it?
Let me read it to you. You see, it's one of those amazing read while an adventure is chosen novels. You choose what happens to the main character. Choose from over 3 different outcomes.
Oh, no.
You say. Oh yes, Hamlet says and clears his throat, then holds out one hand in front of him. Murder, he shouts dramatically. It is what you committed. Is this true? Hamlet stares at you expectantly. Well, is it?
You want me to choose here?
You ask. Yes, please, Hamlet replies. Your options are yes or no. Say yes.
Yeah.
Case closed, says Hamlet, closing the book with a flourish.
Hamlet,
You say.
I love you, but that is a book that sucks, which is slang I'm inventing right now to mean is not a good thing. It really took you a week to write that?
Ophelia, Hamlet replies. Let's take a moment right now to remember that writing is hard.
He's not wrong.
We stare at each other during that moment. Anyway, Hamlet says, if you don't like my book, check out this other book I found. It's way better than my book, and we can just plagiarize it. Look book.
Look, book.
You take the book from Hamlet and read the cover out loud.
The Murder of Gonzago. The Adventure is Being Chosen by You story. Can you murder your brother Gonzago and then, playing as your dead brother's son, murder your usurping uncle? I sure hope so. Choose from over 300 different possible endings. That's quite the title,
You say. Yeah, they use really small type, Hamlet says. Flipping through the book, you see that it might actually be a really good fit for your purposes.
Hamlet, why do we need to plagiarize this?
You ask.
Can't we just give the king this copy to read?
Oh yeah, says Hamlet. I guess we don't really have to plagiarize it. But I mean, we still could though.
Plagiarizing is bad.
Why? Why would we want to do that?
You ask. Hamlet stares at you, then seems to reach a decision. Fine, he says.
Oops.
Taking the book from you, he opens it up to the front page and rubs out the words, by me, Hamlet, as well as the line he'd drawn through the actual author's name.
What about the cover? You didn't change the name back on the cover.
You say. Dust jacket, Hamlet says, throwing a crumpled up piece of paper into the garbage.
Ah,
You say. Well, what are you waiting for? Let's get the king to read this book. Claudius holds court each morning, and they're always looking for new sources of entertainment. Let's do this.
Until tomorrow, give the king the book.
First thing in the morning, you show up to the royal court. Hamlet's got the book, so all you need to do is observe. You look around the room and see that everyone's here. The new king, the old queen, your dad, Hamlet's weird friends Rosencrantz and Guildenstern and Horatio, a bunch of people you've never met, the whole gang. You notice Hamlet talking to Horatio. He's asking him to keep an eye on Claudius as he reads the story. Couldn't hurt. All right, there's nothing left to do. It's go time. Hopefully Hamlet realizes that too. It turns out he does. Hey Claudius, Hamlet says, brandishing his copy of Gonzago. Why don't you read this book today?
I certainly don't see why not.
Claudius says, and Hamlet passes him the book. Hamlet seems to hesitate on where to go next, but settles on standing behind the king so he can see what he's reading. As Claudius begins to read, you become really intent on what's happening. In fact, you're staring at Claudius and listening with such insane intensity that you almost feel like you've become the man himself. In fact, that'd be fun. You are now Claudius.
What?
Be Claudius.
Whoa.
You are now King Claudius. You murdered your brother so you could marry his widow and claim the throne, but don't tell anyone. You've just consented to read a book that your new son by marriage, Hamlet, gave to you. One of the royal court's favorite activities is to listen to you read a book out loud because, yay, that is fun. And fun things are hard to come by in an era before a way to warm up a house without literally starting a fire inside that house was invented.
As I was saying,
You, King Claudius, that's you, don't forget, say to the assembled court.
this story is called The Murder of Gonzago, The Adventure is Being Chosen by You story.
You look up.
The title goes on for a while after that, but my first choice is going to be to skip to the first page.
There is a smattering of polite laughter. Begin reading.
Shut, I'm not a
I'm
murderer.
not a murderer. Then throw the book as hard as you can at Hamlet's head. Tell the court I regret nothing, and make a break for it.
That's hilarious, but we'll read the first page first. Oh my god! By Christina Marlowe. That's hilarious.
You are Battle Lord Pete.
Oh my god.
As you prefer to be called, Dragon Master 3000, since you are the master of 3000 dragons. You are amazing because of all the dragons you control. Plus, you wear the armor of a skeleton warrior, and you wield the battle axe that has the Latin phrase "facta non verba" written on it, in blood. You know what that means? That means deeds, not words.
Holy crap, Claudius. This book is already awesome.
You've been feeling a little jealous lately because your brother Gonzago gets to be king, and it occurs to you, maybe if you killed him and married his wife, you could be king instead. Maybe you should do that, or maybe you should just go slay some skeleton warriors.
Why are you saying
Go
there's no
kill your
better?
brother. Kill skeletons.
Let's kill the brother. See what happens to...
You choose the go kill your brother option. Behind you, Hamlet seems to get interested in your choices. Wait a second. You remind yourself that you did actually just kill your brother, and so maybe reliving the murder in front of the court, through the medium of high literature, is not the greatest idea. On the other hand, adventure beckons. Say, oh wait, I meant to choose that skeleton thing, and turn to that page instead. Onward to adventure and also murder.
Onward.
You announce that you really did intend to choose this option. Behind you, Hamlet whispers to himself, "Man, I knew it." You read out loud the text on the page. You find your brother Gonzago sleeping in a garden. Gardens are really super boring, so it makes sense that he fell asleep. You hear your audience murmur in agreement. Sneaking up on your brother, you notice that he's sleeping on his side. You have some poison in your pocket. Do you hold his nose and pour the poison into his mouth? Pour the poison into his ear? Or realize that murder is terrible, leave, and go kill skeletons instead? They're basically already dead. If you're trying not to get caught, I really think you should go kill some skeletons. Poison in the mouth. Poison in the ear. Go kill skeletons instead.
Fuck it. Go kill skeletons instead.
Battle Lord Pete. You pick up your trusty battle axe and stroll into Skeleton Cove, where you heard all the skeletons hang out. You encounter your first skeleton. He bows theatrically and introduces himself as Skellington of the East Coast Skeletons. Cut him up with your axe. Tell him you're pleased to meet him. Then inquire if you can axe him a few questions.
Yes.
I don't understand the emphasis you're putting on axe,
Says Skellington.
but I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Your battle axe sends his head flying through the air. Skellington continues talking as his head flies into the sky.
Don't worry about harming me,
His head says as it flies over a nearby mountain.
because I am already dead and this is only an inconvenience. No hard feelings.
You grit your teeth and kick over Skellington's still standing body. I hate to cut and run, you say through your manly grimace as his body collapses into a pile of bones. Then you walk away in slow motion. Knife, to meet you, you say, realizing you really should have used that one sooner. But oh well. You have two options now. You can go kill more skeletons by journeying to Skeleton Homeland and smashing everyone there, or you can go home and return to your family. Your country was attacked. Go to Skeleton Homeland. Go home to see your family. Your homeland was just attacked by a ruthless, cunning skeleton invader, and you alone are our last best hope for a bloody, vengeful counterattack. You decide that the best counterattack is a preemptive attack, so you journey to Skeleton Homeland, and on the way, you start cutting up fools before they can even invade. Things are going really well until you actually reach Skeleton Homeland, where it's like 30,000 against 1. You die really quick. Oh no. And I didn't mention earlier, but guess what? If you die in the book, you die in real life. You blew it, and you're totally dead. The end.
That's funny. What am I this time? Still not to be? Yep, still not to be. I think it's always not to be unless we do the correct. Choice made 11. Times you were 0. Times you were not 0. Alright, restart from a checkpoint. In which Claudius reads a book. Narrates like a 50s. I believe it's Ryan North, the writer, actually narrating.
You are Battle Lord Pete.
Alright, we did that one.
As you prefer to be called, Dragon Master 3000, since you are the master of 3,000 dragons.
Alright, let's
You are
actually kill our
amazing
brother.
because of-
You choose the go kill your brother option. Behind you, Hamlet seems to... You announce that you really did intend to choose this option. Behind you, Hamlet whispers to himself, "Man, I knew it." You read out loud the text on the page.
Poison in the ear.
You turn to the appropriate page.
You pour the poison into his ear. Like all sleeping people, your brother doesn't wake up when cold liquids are poured directly into his ear hole, so this whole thing goes surprisingly well. Also, who knew that the ears were really the best way to introduce poison into the body? You and I did, obviously. So I guess any medical doctors in the audience who are about to say, "Excuse me, but I studied human bods for 6 years at the university level," can straight up go suck a lemon. Your bro is dead. Congratulations. Poisons really do work that quickly. And you have just ended a life. Perhaps you'd like to assume your brother's throne now as well.
Behind you, Hamlet whispers to himself, "Man, that's exactly what I suspected, and this has allowed me to confirm my suspicions perfectly." Nice one, Claudius. Hamlet now believes you murdered his father. It seems you have two choices. You can throw the book down, yell that you hate it, and run out of the room. Or Since an innocent person would not actually react that way, you can just continue playing as if nothing's wrong, thereby not instantly confirming your guilt, and instead allow your choices to be read as simple chants. Run out of the room. Continue playing as if nothing's wrong.
So running out of the room is what actually happens in Hamlet, as the little skull tells us there on the right-hand side. So we'll continue playing as if nothing's wrong.
You continue reading. Killed your brother and married his widow, and now you're king. Congratulations. You have scored 400 out of a possible 1,000 points. Now you get to play as a dead king's son and try to reveal your own murder. You look up from the book.
Sweet. This book is a lot of fun,
You say.
and I sure am completely innocent as to what might happen next.
Behind you, Hamlet whispers to himself, "Man, wait. Maybe he didn't do the murders," you hear. You return to the book. You are Gonzago II, or as you prefer to be called, Dragon Master 3001, son of the king and nephew of Dragon Master 3000. You have all the powers of your uncle, the 3000th member of the Dragon Master clan. You also look a lot like your uncle too, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, you're a prince. Things have been rough lately. You've been trying to focus on your studies at Teen High, where you and your
Teen
bros,
High.
the Wiz, Standard Soft Top, and Heat Shrink Butt Splice all hang out. But you've been called home because your father died. Then your dead dad's brother, Dragon Master 3000, married your mother 2 weeks later. Classy. You think your father's recent death was murder, and you suspect it was his brother who did it. Should you investigate his murder? Or should you go kill skeletons, as he would have wanted, to do himself, that is, if he were still alive? You look up from the book and say, "I choose to investigate the murder."
Yeah.
You turn to the appropriate page and read about how you're sad from your dad's death. So you dress in black and act all sullen, but you're still looking for something to reveal itself so that you might spring into action and begin your investigation. In the meantime, you're acting weird and making a general nuisance of yourself. There's a cool picture too. It looks rad. Holy cow. This book is like a mirror image of what's actually been happening lately. It's got both your and Hamlet's characters down perfectly, just with different names. And also with dragon mastery powers that don't actually ever seem to come up. In fact, there are so many similarities between the book and real life. You bet that if you went back a bit, squinted your eyes, and did all the correct name substitutions as you read, you could continue reading the book as if it actually was a choose-your-own-adventure book written about Hamlet. So that's what you decide to do. You begin to mentally make all substitutions necessary while reading this book, to make the book match up with what's been going on in real life. And you
Play as Hamlet.
Hamlet. You are Hamlet. You're 30 years old and you're back living at home, but it's okay, because your home is a castle. That's right, ladies. You're a prince. Things have been rough lately. You had been trying to focus on your studies at Wittenberg University, where you and your bros, Horatio Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, all hang out. But you were called home because your father died. Then, your dead dad's brother, Claudius, married your mom, Gertrude, 2 weeks later. Yep.
Am I actually playing as
You're
Hamlet
kind of
now?
upset. You raced home to comfort her, but she's married your uncle, and that is weird. You feel weird. Right now, you're in the audience chamber of your father's castle, here in sunny Denmark.
Sunny
King
Denmark.
Claudius is here, addressing his court. Laertes and Polonius are here, too. Laertes is kind of a jerk, and Polonius is his father. Polonius is also the father of Ophelia, whom you're totally sweet on. She's not here, though. Who knows what adventure she's having as we speak, while you're stuck in this drafty castle room listening to other people talk about their feelings. Speaking of speaking, just now Laertes says something about how now that Claudius is king, and he's attended the coronation, is it okay for him to go back to France? Claudius says,
Sure.
"Wait a minute. You'd love to leave too and go back to school, away from this weird incesty thing your mother's gotten herself into. It's so gross and weird." Ask Claudius for permission to go back to school. Hold your tongue and just wait around.
Alright, well, let's not do what happens in Hamlet.
You stay silent, but King Claudius addresses you anyway. He says he's king now and it's time for you to stop mourning, as your father is dead and everyone has to die sometime, right? Man up, he says. Walk it off, he says. Drop me a letter about it at Not My Problem, number 1, Cheer Up Already Lane, Dopesville, Denmark, he says. Your mom agrees with him, and then when they're done insulting you, they leave. You kinda wish you'd insulted him when you had the chance. In the meantime, you're alone in an empty council room and feeling pretty sad. An empty room offers a ton of possibilities. which include things you can do inside this empty room, such as talk to yourself about how your life is in ruins and how everything just sucks. Leave the room. You're finally home, and it's been weeks since you embarked. Sit on the throne as the Prince of Denmark.
Let's see that.
Okay, you sit on the throne, and since I like you, I'm going to describe your situation in rhyming verse.
Hells yes.
Now this was going to be a story all about how your life got flipped, turned upside down, but instead you're going to sit your butt down in this chair and ignore how you're really Denmark's rightful heir. Whoa! My flow is so awesome that it infects even you. You begin rapping to yourself about yourself. Here's the lyrical truth you lay down. In West Denmark, I was born and raised. On a battlefield is where I spent most of my days. Chilling out with dad, time stabbing all the fools and all sorts, fighting Norwegians outside of my school when a couple of armies, they were up to no good. Started repulsing our invasion of their neighborhood. Dad died one little time and my mom got scared and said, I'm marrying your dad's brother, but we weren't having an affair. You feel like you could keep spitting some extremely tight rhymes, but you also feel like you've brought yourself pretty much up to speed on your own life. Well done, Prince Hamlet. You certainly are fresh.
Yeah.
Continue sitting on the throne. While you're busy doing that, your friend Horatio bumps into you and tells you, A, he's in town for your dad's funeral / mom's wedding, and that they serve leftover appetizers from one at the other. B, ghosts are real. C, he's seen one and so have a bunch of other guys. D, it keeps showing up at the same time, and E, he's pretty sure it's a ghost of your dad. Finally, some adventure, some closure. You agree that you'll come with him tonight to see the ghost when it shows up again. It's such an obvious decision that it kind of feels like you don't even have a choice in the matter. Agree to go with Horatio tonight to see the ghost when it shows up again. I'll be there, 11:30 sharp, you say, and Horatio leaves, satisfied. Well, now you have 8 hours to blow before it's time to meet ghosts. What do you want to do, Hamlet? Be Ophelia for a while. Play solitaire.
Be Ophelia for a while.
Right, you're Ophelia. You are a beautiful and independent young woman, and although it makes you roll your eyes when you think about it, you've fallen in love with a prince.
Oh, it's the same.
He's funny and charming, and he seems to like you a lot. You try not to get too excited about it, because you're worried you might jinx it. But things really are going great.
Alright, we'll let Laertes in.
You open the door for your brother.
You can come in,
You say,
but I don't want to hear any opinions about my personal life.
If you sleep with Hamlet, you're a slut.
he says.
Ugh.
Slam the door in his face. Invite him to enter your room.
Nope, slam door in his face.
Bam! That felt good. Laertes shouts through the door that he's sorry and just wanted to say goodbye before he left for France. But when you open the door a crack, he sticks his head in and says,
I'm just saying. Have sex with him and you're damaged.
Ooh, Laertes.
You slam the door in his face again, barely missing his nose. You shout through the door that if you're damaged goods, he's an entire shelf of unsellable eggs that went off weeks ago. And also, as your brother, he's got an entirely unhealthy interest in your sex life.
That's correct.
You're unhealthy.
Laertes shouts in return, and then you hear him stomp away down the hall. What a jerk. And his retorts don't even make sense. Return to desk. At your desk, you continue your work on the problem of automatically heating the castle. Hours turn into days, and you're generally left alone by both your family and your boyfriend.
Oh.
Your father
yeah.
ignoring you is no big deal.
It's the
While
same
you're a little
thing
worried
before.
about Hamlet not stopping by more often, he has asked you to leave him alone for a while.
It's Hamlet, yeah.
You decide you want Hamlet to be on the other side of the door. Open it, and Hamlet really is at the door.
Alright, we'll wait for
It's
him to
so
tell
freaky.
us.
You wait, doing nothing, and he pulls away from you and holds you at arm's length. Listen, he says. And then he begins unbuttoning his jacket, taking his garters off, and... oh gosh, yes, he's actually doing it. He's fouling his stockings.
What?
What's wrong, Hamlet?
You ask in alarm. What you say next sounds like the obvious question, but you ask it anyway.
Why are you fouling your stockings?
Instead of answering, he grabs you by the wrist. You come to the entirely obvious conclusion that he's not acting like himself. This conclusion is reinforced in the next few moments, when he moves his other hand to his forehead as if he might faint. But instead of fainting, he stares at you intensely.
Hamlet, I don't know why you're doing this.
You begin, and he sighs really loudly. It's the most intense sigh you've ever heard. It's actually
Is this when he starts acting crazy?
Look,
Hamlet?
if you'll just talk to me, we can
You begin, and he sighs again, so loudly that it literally drowns out your words.
Fine, weirdo. Let's play the wrist-holding game. Yay!
You meet his eyes, and he sighs one of those ultimate sighs again, then gets up and leaves in what can only be described as the creepiest way possible, walking with his head wrenched over his shoulder so he can watch you even as he crab walks out the door. Well, that was weird. Maybe he's sick. You decide to check in with your dad because, as annoying as he is, he does have some experience in these matters.
Yeah, let's go talk to
Follow Hamlet
Polonius.
and You go see your dad.
Hey, Dad. Is Hamlet sick?
You ask, knocking on the door as you open it. Polonius isn't there. Instead, in his room, you find an oversized yet crude papier-mâché Hamlet head and a note labeled, 3-Step Plan to Replacing Hamlet. Let's take a look at that note, shall we? It reads, Step 1. Make Hamlet disguise. There's a check mark next to this one. Step 2. Hide behind curtain and then jump out at Hamlet so he gets so scared that he dies. There's no check mark next to this one. That's a relief. Step 3. Dispose of body, wear Hamlet disguise, take over his life. Wow, this is creepy. Turns out your dad is crazy, I guess. And with Hamlet sighing his way through insanity, that's pretty much the two most important men in your life gone bonkers. The only ones left are Brother Laertes and King Claudius, and you don't really like those two guys that much anyway. Well, Ophelia, you basically have two choices here. You can pretend you didn't see this note, go to Hamlet's room and ask him what's going on, or you can say screw these guys and go on vacation, and someone else can deal with this. Or if not, these two can just dang well figure it out on their own. You've got the money, Ophelia, and you've wanted to get away for a while. Go ask Hamlet what his friggin' deal is.
What his
Go
friggin'
on
deal
vacation.
is. I want to go on vacation.
A few hours later, you're on a boat for England. Yep, it's that easy to make a vacation happen. In fact, I'm kind of surprised you're not reading this book on a real-life vacation. Unless you are, in which case I am still kind of surprised. But it is a pleasant surprise, so yay you.
Later, haters.
Later,
You
haters.
shout as you wave from the deck of the ship down to the pier below. Nobody's there to see you off, though.
Woo!
You yell to the empty pier. The trip itself takes a while. Wind-powered boats, not the fastest mode of transportation, and is pretty uneventful. But the good news is that when you arrive, you've happened to catch England's annual 2 weeks of nice weather. There are all sorts of hunky guys here too, which is fun because you're pretty sure you kinda just broke up with Hamlet, because as soon as he started acting crazy, you split town. After hanging around your hotel for a few days, you've made small talk with 3 people who seem to be non-duds. There's Antonio Tony, the mysterious and sexy tourist, Cleopatra Slim, the friendly, adventurous explorer, and Brother Pat, the religious guy who drinks a lot. Oh man. So, who do you want to hang out with tonight?
Not Brother
You
Pat.
have the next few weeks to talk to your chosen person, and if you choose the right dialogue option, you might even get them to fall in love with you. That's right. This is a dating simulator. And you're just going to sit there and keep reading this book as you get to know a bunch of imaginary people and pretend you're trying to date them. Are you ready? You take a deep breath and decide to chat up.
Cleopatra Slim, y'all.
You knock on Cleopatra's door. She answers wearing a very snappy dress.
Hi, Cleopatra.
You say, but she interrupts you.
Please, Ophelia, call me Cleo, and come in.
She says, gesturing to her hotel room. Ophelia, the room is gorgeous. Whoever she is, Cleo must have tons of money. Is it her own? Are her parents supporting her somehow? You resolve to find out. You walk into the room, and Cleo softly clicks the door closed behind her.
So, Ophelia,
She says, turning to face you.
to what do I owe the pleasure of your company?
She's kind of stunning. For a second, you forget what you were going to say, but then you remember. Cleo, I'm bored. Cleo, you want to go get dinner?
Yeah, that one.
Cleo laughs.
You came down to invite me to dinner personally, Ophelia? That's adorable. Of course I'll join you. I've already eaten, but I'll get some drinks while you eat. I know the perfect place a few doors down from here.
It sounds really
What?
nice, but before you can say so, a huge explosion rocks the hotel. Debris showers into the room, knocking Cleo unconscious. Looks like dinner will have to wait. You're under attack. By terrorists.
What the fuck?
Ha, screw this dating thing. You have
Ow.
3 terrorists to kill.
Run down
Run
to the
down
side.
to the site of the explosion. You burst into the lobby, and it looks like a war zone. Injured people are staggering everywhere. But time bombs aren't really a thing yet, so the terrorists, I mean, I guess I already let it slip that there's 3 of them, but let's pretend I didn't. Must be nearby. Spinning around, you look for anyone suspicious. There's a man very conspicuously trying to look very inconspicuous as he leaves the hotel.
Hey, you
shout, and he breaks into a run. Looks like this is your man. You give chase and slam into him, sending him straight into a wall. He hits his head hard and falls back, dazed. You pick him up by the collar.
Who sent you?
You ask.
What?
He replies. You slap him across the face and he laughs. So you close your hand into a fist and shatter his nose. He's not laughing now. In fact, he's in a lot of pain.
Not gonna ask you twice.
You warn.
Okay, geez,
Gasps the man.
I was helped by my 2 terrorist friends, George and Margaret. They're in a coffee shop 2 blocks away.
You mash around his broken nose a little.
Okay, 3 blocks away.
He shouts through the pain. You press your fingers against his eyes and he cries out. You wait for him to stop and take a breath.
You killed a lot of people back there.
You say.
I think given our current cultural context, and the fact that we're not operating with the benefit of hundreds of years of ethical development that some hypothetical future people might have, I'm justified in killing you.
His only answer is to whimper.
Did you know there's a name for that judicial framework?
He shakes his head, and then you pull out one of his eyes with your fingers.
Ah!
An eye for an eye.
You say.
Damn,
As
Ophelia!
he's screaming, you decide to actually break his neck and kill him, since that's what an eye for an eye means in its non-literal sense after all. You then run down towards the coffee shop he indicated, coming in through the back door. Everyone is talking nervously about the explosion except for 2 people.
Hey, George! Margaret!
You shout, and the 2 people who weren't talking both look towards you. Bingo. You pull up a chair to the side of their table and throw your arms around their shoulders.
Listen, guys, it kinda sucks that you blew up all those people.
You say.
What? Haha. That's crazy that you think we are the terrorists.
That's the
Says
voice.
George.
Oh, right. Haha, what a crazy thing for me to accuse you of.
You say, your arms still around their shoulders.
Let's talk about this outside.
You say, pulling them up by their collars and dragging them out to the alley behind the coffee shop.
What'd you do with Patrick?
Demands Margaret.
Who's Patrick? The dead guy? I killed him.
You say.
He's dead now.
Horse droppings.
Says Margaret.
I don't believe you.
Oh no, I can prove it.
You say. You grab Margaret with both hands.
Here's what I did to your friend that made him dead.
Seconds later, Margaret's way dead body is lying at your feet with a broken
Goddamn,
nose and a
Ophelia.
missing eye. You look up at George, who's staring at Margaret's body in shock.
Do you believe me, George?
You ask. He hesitates, unsure whether yes or no is the right answer. You decide to help him out.
There's no right answer here, George. Sometimes life isn't fair.
You say. And then you break his neck too.
Them's the breaks.
You say. Go back to the hotel, collect your things, and get out of here. This country is crazy. You want to go back to Denmark. Stay here. This country is awesome. Let's track down more terrorists.
How is that awesome? Damn. I wanted to chat up Cleopatra Slim. Alright, let's do this one.
You decide to stick around. You make your way back to the hotel and offer your services to the local authorities. They are wary until you reveal that you've already tracked down and killed the terrorists responsible for the hotel attack, at which point they're impressed. The terrorists were carrying notes admitting their guilt, so the authorities know you aren't just a regular murderer. This is really lucky. Good thing I thought to put that detail in your story, huh? After the bodies are carried away, you excuse yourself and return to the hotel lobby, where you convince a still shocked hotel clerk to extend your stay by another 6 months.
And I may be staying longer after that, too.
You say.
Although the terrorists responsible for this attack were taken care of, they weren't operating alone.
Okay, says the clerk.
Okay.
There's a whole terrorist organization here that needs to be brought to justice as quickly and as painfully as possible.
You say. And Ophelia, that's exactly what you do. I don't want to spoil it all for you, but there's this one point down the line where you're base jumping off a cliff down to the rocks below, and you pull back your arms to reveal a gliding suit you've invented, and you swoop down using that suit and crash horizontally into some terrorists so hard that you literally tear them a new one, where one is a gaping wound in their chests. You put pointy spears on your hands. That's part of the gliding suit. So, that's something to look forward to. The end.
Way. I wonder if there's somewhere to see all the images that you've got so far. Is it gonna be not to be again? That's crazy. We started as Ophelia, became Claudius, became Hamlet, and then became Ophelia again. Your stats. Poisons misused, 1. Puns dealt, 1. Stockings befouled, 1. Choices made, 22. Times you were, times you were not. Bears married. What? Alright, restart from a checkpoint again. Oh, okay. Let's do this one.
A few hours later, you're on a boat for England.
Yep.
Yep, it's that easy to make a vacation
Alright,
happen.
so let's
In fact, I'm kind of
try Antonio Tony, see if that changed anything.
You knock on Antonio's door. He answers, wearing a very snappy suit. Man, he looks great. I will describe his lips as being enticing, his eyes as being reflective pools in which you feel you might drown, and his legs as being apparently unable to float.
Hi, Antonio.
You say.
It's me, Ophelia. Are you busy tonight?
Never too busy for a pretty lady,
Says Antonio.
though you should know. Generally my nights tend to end up pretty erotic.
Oh,
You say.
weird.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like a curse or something,
Antonio says.
Just once I'd like to have a regular date without it descending into mind-blowing eroticism.
Huh.
You say. Ask about mind-blowing eroticism. Ask about what he'd like to do instead.
Let's see that one.
Well, I mean, is there something else that you would like to do
You begin. And just then a huge explosion rocks the hotel.
Uh-oh.
Debris showers into the room, knocking Antonio unconscious. Looks like you're under attack. By terrorists. Haha. Screw this dating.
Okay.
You burst into the lobby and it looks like a
I
war
guess
zone.
it'll happen no matter who
Injured
you
people are
pick.
staggering everywhere. But time bombs aren't really a thing yet, so the terrorists, I mean, I guess I already let it slip that there's 3 of them, but let's pretend I didn't. Must be nearby.
All right, let's go
Spinning
back to
around.
Denmark.
You go back to the hotel, pushing your way past a crowd of onlookers and local authorities assessing the blaze and damages. Back in your remarkably undamaged hotel room, you quickly pack your bags. On the way out, you stop by the room you were in when the bomb first went off, and leave a single rose on your date still unconscious but otherwise okay, actually more than okay body, along with a short handwritten note.
I had fun. XOXOXO. Oh.
You want to hop on the next boat to Denmark, but it leaves like 6 weeks from now. Boats, man. Instead of waiting, you journey on an indirect path involving 3 countries, 6 connecting cruises, and 2 week-long layovers. It's honestly not bad. You've had worse times. When you finally arrive in Denmark, the place is quiet. Too quiet. Nobody is there to greet you on the pier. You drop your bags off at your room and head to the royal court, again seeing nobody along the way. The only sound you hear is the echo of your own footsteps. When you open up the doors of the royal court, you find a room full of dead bodies. Hamlet, your family, the king and queen, and some dude is there on the throne.
14 bras.
What the hell?
What the hell?
You say.
Did you kill these people?
No, man. They killed each other. Hi, I'm Fortinbras. I'm the new king of Denmark.
Horse droppings.
You say.
That's what they say in England to mean bull droppings.
You explain.
Oh, honest. I showed up and everyone was dead, and it turns out that Hamlet's dying wish was that I should assume the throne.
He says.
How did you know what Hamlet's dying wish was if everyone was dead?
You ask.
Oh, there's a perfectly logical explanation for that as well.
Says Fortinbras.
Hamlet's friend was here and saw it all, and stuck around long enough to tell me. It was a cool story. He's gone now, though.
He finishes.
He
says. It's not the most credible story in the world. Accuse him of lying. Accept his explanation.
Accuse
and
him
go
of
back on
lying.
Vacation.
You're lying.
You say, thinking maybe it's time for you to kill a dude. Again.
No, wait. I can prove it. Horatio, come back here, please.
He shouts. A few seconds later, Horatio pops his head in the door. You called for me, my king?
Yeah, this woman. I'm sorry. I didn't get your name.
Ophelia.
You say.
This Ophelia doesn't believe I'm king because everyone else died, and then Hamlet wanted me to be king. Tell her that's what happened.
Horatio turns to you and shrugs. Sometimes reality is real stupid, Horatio says.
Perfect.
Fortinbras says, smiling.
Okay, now that we've got that establishing that I'm the rightful king of Denmark thing out of the way, off with their head.
Wait, what?
You say. And it's actually the last thing you ever say because Horatio slices off your head
Damn.
in one smooth motion, and you can't speak without vocal cords, Ophelia. Sheesh. You know this. You've dissected enough dead bodies to know what strings do what. I mean, you used to know this before you died from not having a body attached
Damn
to
you,
your head anymore.
Horatio.
The
Oh. Wait, what? Will this one be 2B since it actually, well, except for Ophelia dying, will this actually do what it was supposed to do? Yeah, not to be. Still not to be. Your stats disadventure. Puns dealt 1. Choices made 5. Times you were 0. Times you were not 1. Alright, we start from a checkpoint. Let's do this one again.
A few hours later, you're on a boat for England. Yep, it's that easy to make a
Alright.
vacation happen. You knock on Cleopatra's door. She answers wearing a very snappy dress.
Oh.
Cleo laughs.
I'm sure
I said
there's
I'm bored.
something that two people like us could get up to.
She says.
What do you feel like?
Before you can reply, a huge explosion
Okay,
rocks
so it doesn't
the hotel.
matter. The terrorist
Debris
attack will
showers
always
into the
happen.
room, knocking Cleo unconscious.
Alright.
You burst into the lobby and it looks like a war zone. Injured people are staggering everywhere. But time bombs aren't really
So
a
we'll
thing
go
yet,
back
so
home.
Terrorists. I mean, I guess I already let it slip that there's...
Yeah.
You go back to the hotel, pushing your way past a crowd of onlookers and local authorities assessing the blaze and damages. Back in your remarkably
Accept situation.
undamaged... Good idea, Ophelia. You return to England for your vacation, which lasts longer and longer until it's what you might call a staycation, which is a terrible word, but all I'm trying to say is you live the rest of your days very happily, very far away from Denmark. Here's something you were chuffed to discover. Like Denmark, England is full of lots of very interesting, very attractive people, and you make a lot of friends there who are, I'll give it to you straight, stone cold hunks and smoking hot babes.
Wait.
If you don't want children, then you don't have any. But if you want children, let's say you meet someone amazing, like the person from the hotel, and have children with them. Or you adopt. Whatever, man, I'm easy.
Wait.
The end.
I wish they left those images up a bit longer. And I do hope there's somewhere where you can actually see them all. This one is definitely going to still be not to be. Yeah. Once dealt 1, just made 5. Times you were not. So, times you were means you were alive. Times you were not means you were dead. Alright, let's not do Ophelia goes on vacation. Yeah, Claudius is reading the book, right?
You are Battle Lord.
Okay,
Pete,
so we did a lot of
or
these.
as you prefer to be called, Dragon Master.
Go kill your brother.
You choose the Go Kill Your Brother option. Behind you,
Onward.
you announce that you really did intend to choose this option. Behind you, Hamlet whispers to himself.
Poison in the ear.
You turn to the appropriate page.
You pour the poison into his ear. Like all sleeping people,
Run out of the room.
You tear out of the room, throwing the book behind you, leaving Hamlet and your beloved Gertrude alone in front of a very confused crowd. Today's not going very well for you, huh? You run into your room in tears and lock the door behind you and throw your face into your pillow and cry. Well, Claudius, there's no two ways about it. You globbed up big back there. I think you'd better be Hamlet for a while, huh?
Alright, be Hamlet.
You are Hamlet. You just saw your stepfather confirm his guilt about killing your father, because he read a book and chose the options that the murderer would have chosen in real life. He's definitely guilty. This is entirely reasonable. There is absolutely no other conceivable explanation for what you just saw. After Claudius tore out of the room, your mother followed him, and after she left, everyone else left too, leaving the room empty but for you, Ophelia, and Horatio. Did you see that? He totally chose the murdery options, and then he freaked out, you say, really excited. There's no denying that, says Horatio. This means the spooky ghost was correct, you say. Ophelia looks at you for a moment and then opens her mouth to speak. Wait, hold on. I can't remember. you've made a lot of crazy choices. Did you and Ophelia break up the last time you saw her?
No.
Yeah, man, we broke up. Actually, before we started reading that book within a book, Ophelia told me we were cool, so we're definitely
Yes.
cool. Not only did we not break up, I actually was Ophelia before Claudia.
Yeah.
That is honestly the most credible of all the choices, which just made me very, very sad. Okay, so you used to be Ophelia, and then you were King Claudius, but now you're Hamlet. Honestly, this doesn't seem like a very fair trade to me. Listen, kid, I like you. I don't want you to be stuck being Hamlet. Why don't I turn my back real quick and count to 10, and when I'm not looking, you are now Ophelia. You and Hamlet now know that Claudius is guilty, and though it took you a bit to figure it out, I guess step 2 is to murderize him, huh? You know that if you leave Hamlet alone, he's going to try to kill Claudius, and you love your prince, but man can that guy take a while to get things done. There will be side projects he'll get enthusiastic about and then abandon, and suddenly he'll act like the only way to kill Claudius is to go on a boat ride to England with his pals. It'll go better if both you and Hamlet try to take down Claudius together. You tell Hamlet you need to speak to him privately. He makes his excuses, and before long, you're both back in your bedroom / laboratory / place where you do your best thinking.
Hamlet,
You say, locking the door behind you.
we're going to commit murder.
I guess, he says, shuffling his feet.
No,
You say, locking eyes with him.
Hey, Eugene. Yeah,
You two,
correct.
You and I are going to commit murder. And we are going to get away with it. And you know why we're going to get away with murder?
Why? He says.
Because we are going to be incredibly good at it.
You say. Hamlet looks at you for a moment, unconvinced. But how do you know that's true? He says.
Easy.
You say. There's a knife lying on your workbench, and you bring your fist down on its handle. It flies into the air, twirling wildly. You catch it like it's no big deal and point the tip directly at Hamlet's chest.
Whoa.
Whoa. That was really badass, Ophelia.
We are going to be incredibly good at murder.
You say.
Because we are going to train. We are going to study. And we are going to nail it.
Ophelia's super
Hamlet looks
badass.
at you. I don't want to study, he says. Be Hamlet. Become convinced by Ophelia's plan, then be Ophelia again and put the plan in motion. Try to convince him by just talking to him.
That one.
Wow, now you're catching on. Okay, you're Hamlet. And you decide, as Hamlet...
and by
that
book, do you
Ophelia
mean the
is
play?
making a lot of
Yes.
sense. I mean, it is a little weird that she's suddenly so into murdering people. And isn't it also kind of weird how you're going to kill a dude because your ghost dad asked you to? Even though this ghost can interact with the physical realm? And if he can do that, why doesn't he just kill him himself? Wait, this plan doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it? This
Oh, is
crazy.
it? Oh, okay.
This whole plan is crazy. Hamlet kicks you out, and now you are Ophelia again. Hamlet says, Hey, Ophelia, I'm not sure we should be killing Claudius after all. Maybe my dad can just do it himself.
Then yes, it's based on
I
that.
thought you were
Sorry.
done with this revenge thing.
You ask.
Don't you want revenge?
Well, that's the thing, he says. Revenge is great and all, but I get the impression that maybe there are more productive things for me to be consumed by. And now you are Hamlet again, and you finish his sentence with, but actually, now that I think about it, let's stab that jerk in the brains. And now you're back to being Ophelia again, and I honestly think you're abusing your reader privileges here. So let's be Ophelia from now on, okay? Besides, you've got Hamlet pretty well set up for a while. He is down to murder a dude. Hit the books.
Yeah, I get to the end and then I go back to like a checkpoint, right? But in this particular round, I started out as Ophelia, then I became King Claudius, and then I became Hamlet, and now I've been like flip-flopping between Hamlet and Ophelia.
You pass Hamlet some books off your shelf. One is a book on poisons. The other is a book on sneaking around.
Here, read these.
You say.
At the end, you should be good at poisons and sneaking around.
Got it, Hamlet says.
In the meantime, I'm going to read these books on how to stab people and how to get away with things. At the end, I should be good at getting away with stabbing people.
Nice, Hamlet says.
Then we'll switch.
You say. Super rad, Hamlet says. Training montage. Don't bother with a montage. Just skip to several weeks later when I'm fully trained.
No, training montage.
You, reading a book by candlelight, flipping to one page, furrowing your brow, and flipping back. Hamlet in a lab with a textbook and a recipe stand, pouring a small amount of liquid into a flask, turning the flask's transparent contents a dark, rich purple. The purple liquid exploding, leaving Hamlet blinking and covered in soot. The pages of a page-a-day calendar, tearing themselves off and fluttering to the ground. You sneaking around a building at night, stopping to read your book by candlelight, then slapping your forehead and extinguishing the candle. You sneaking past the armed sentry of Marcellus, Bernardo, and Francisco, who never notice a thing. Hamlet holding a knife in his fist, you touching him gently on the arm, showing him how to let the blade rest in his hand. Lightly, gently. The face of a clock, its hand spinning rapidly. You and Hamlet in an argument. Hamlet gesturing towards a fresh cut in his coat. You holding scissors in one hand, and your How to Get Away with Stuff book in the other. You answering his accusations by reading lines from your book, and Hamlet's body language softening until he's holding up the torn fabric, shrugging, smiling. You holding up the book so he can see, the two of you bursting into amazed laughter. You and Hamlet surreptitiously adding bright green liquid into each other's drink, then passing the mug to each other. The two of you about to drink, then sniffing the drink experimentally, laughing, playfully punching the other, then pouring the mugs out onto the grass. The grass withering and dying instantly.
Wow.
This image fading into a shot of you and Hamlet, asleep in bed late at night, smiles on your faces and giant stacks of books on each side of your bed. Congratulations, you have both fully leveled up your skills at sneaking, poison, stabbing, and getting away with things.
Yeah.
Proceed
Training
with
montage.
maxed out skills.
Training montage. To buffer or not to buffer? Or am I buffering? Sorry, guys. I hope. Or maybe it's just Eugene. Sorry, Eugene. Proceed with maxed out skills. Yes.
It's a new day, and you and Hamlet wake up in bed together, surrounded by the stacks of books you've been reading. And as of this morning, you've read and mastered every single one of them. It's a beautiful day, Ophelia. It's the kind of day that makes you think, man, I bet I could totally murder a head of state by now. You prop yourself up and face Hamlet.
We'll start by following Claudius, learning his routine. We'll be in full stealth mode the entire time, so nobody should detect us.
You say. We have gotten way good at sneaking, Hamlet agrees.
We'll do 3 separate missions, each with idiosyncratic naming.
You say.
On Secret Mission Act 3, Scene 3, we tail Claudius for a while. During Secret Mission Act 3, Scene 4, we stake out Gertrude. Maybe she knows something. And in Secret Mission Act 4, Scene 2, we tail your friends Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, in case they have any information.
I like it, Hamlet says. Nobody has seen us for weeks, so they won't even be looking for us. It's perfect.
That's kind of the reason I made this plan be so awesome.
You say. You roll on top of Hamlet and kiss him, holding his face in your hands while he holds yours in his. It's nice. Eventually you pull back from the smooch. Let's do this, you say in unison. You both have morning breath, but that's neither here nor there. Act 3, Scene 3.
Let's go.
You and Hamlet are pressed invisibly up against the wall of the Royal Church, your clothes and ninja hoods blending in with the stone and mortar perfectly. Claudius is here, talking to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and he's speechifying. He's got one hand out in front of him, holding it in the air. It looks pretty dramatic.
I like him not,
Claudius says.
nor stands it safe with us to let his madness range. Therefore prepare you. I, your commission, will forthwith dispatch, and he to England shall along with you.
Dude, nobody's seen Hamlet for days.
Rosencrantz replies.
Yeah, we can't take him to England because not a single bro knows where he is.
Says Guildenstern.
Of course they're bros.
Claudius lowers his arm.
Well, poops.
Claudius says. And Rosencrantz and Guildenstern look at each other, and it's awkward. And then they leave. Polonius comes in and offers to spy on Hamlet by hiding in Gertrude's room, just in case Hamlet happens to show up. It is a weird, pervy plan, but Claudius agrees to it. And then Polonius gets really excited and runs out of the room. Finally alone, Claudius again raises one arm out in front of him as he says,
Oh, my offense is rank. It smells to heaven. It hath the primal eldest curse upon a brother's murder.
You and Hamlet exchange a glance. Dude is not only guilty, he confessed his guilt to an empty room. Wow. And Claudius is still confessing his crime for, like, another minute, until he finally bows and prays. You could kill him now if you want, or you could let him twist in the wind a little longer. Kill Claudius.
Let him go. It's time to engage
Let
in
him
Operation
go.
Act 3,
It's
Scene
time.
4.
You and Hamlet exit the room with perfect stealth, leaving Claudius alone. You sneak your way into Gertrude's room, again, undetectably. You and Hamlet hang upside down from the ceiling, right above Gertrude's bed.
He'll come.
Polonius is telling Gertrude.
Tell Hamlet he's been crazy, okay? And ask him where he's been these past few weeks.
Okay, fine.
Gertrude says.
Go hide. I don't want him to see you here with me.
Polonius goes and hides behind a curtain. You can see his feet sticking out the bottom. Jeez, come on, Polonius. For a long while, nobody speaks. Gertrude picks up a book and lies on her bed, reading. You hear Polonius shuffle a bit, then fall silent. Gertrude turns the page and coughs, and Polonius peeks out from behind the curtain.
Not here yet, huh?
He whispers.
No?
Gertrude says, without looking up. Polonius installs himself behind the curtain again, and you feel Hamlet tap you on your shoulder. Using the secret tap-based language you learned, Hamlet says,
I don't think these two know anything.
You reply,
I kinda want to see how long he'll keep hiding behind the curtain.
Hamlet replies,
We're leaving in an hour.
and you tap back.
Fine.
1 hour later, Polonius is sitting against the wall sleeping, his body making a very obvious bulge in the otherwise flowing shape of the curtain. Gertrude's taking a nap too.
Wow. I guess really not much happens when I'm not around.
Hamlet taps.
Which somehow I feel actually makes sense.
The two of you sneak out of the room. Nobody notices. You're such awesome spies now. We have enough intel. Kill Claudius.
No, let's do
Proceed
the last
with
one.
the next part of the plan.
Yeah.
Secret mission, Act 4, Scene 2.
This is Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
You and Hamlet locate and then follow Rosencrantz and Guildenstern from a distance, never letting them get out of sight or earshot. Eventually, they go into a seldom-used castle room. You and Hamlet sneak your way inside.
But soft, what noise?
Says Rosencrantz, and you and Hamlet exchange a glance. They couldn't have heard anything. You're too good. Guildenstern replies,
What have you done, my lord, with the dead body?
and you and Hamlet both relax. Whatever they heard, it wasn't you,
Compounded it with dust whereto 'tis kin.
answers Rosencrantz. Guildenstern replies,
Tell us where 'tis, that we may take it thence, and bear it to the chapel.
you tap out a message to Hamlet.
What are they talking about?
No idea.
Hamlet replies,
This is turbo weird.
Turbo weird.
The body is with the king, but the king is not with the body.
Rosencrantz says. He pauses, and then says,
The king is a thing.
Guildenstern notices Rosencrantz's hesitation and winces. Then he says,
Dude, the line is the body is with the king, but the king is not with the body. The king is a head of state, not an undertaker. Duh. Ah, frig. Right.
says Rosencrantz, relaxing.
Okay, from the top.
He takes a few steps backwards, pauses for a second, then says,
But soft. What noise?
They're rehearsing a play.
taps Hamlet.
Wow. What are the odds? That makes sense because we haven't killed anyone yet.
You reply.
It must be entirely unrelated to us and our sweet quest. And as such, we can leave now.
Yes.
Taps out Hamlet.
Act 4, Scene 2 is over. Mission accomplished.
Accomplished.
You are torn between doing more reconnaissance and just up and killing Claudius now. I feel like you probably had the skills to kill a single dude for weeks. Do more reconnaissance. Follow Horatio in a plan that you will call Act 4, Scene 5.
Why not? Let's do that.
You decide to follow Horatio for a bit to see if he knows anything useful. You and Hamlet follow him as he goes through his day, and he doesn't suspect a thing. It's actually kind of thrilling to be moving unseen among all these people, to know things nobody suspects you know. You could get used to this. Eventually, Horatio meets up with Gertrude and some other guy in a nondescript room. But all that happens as the guy says, "Ophelia is gone," and Gertrude says,
Why would she leave?
and the dude shrugs and walks away. Gertrude looks at Horatio and Horatio at her, and they stare at each other in silence for a long while, until Claudius enters and says,
How do you do, pretty lady?
and Gertrude says,
Fine, thanks.
and then it's Gertrude and Claudius and Horatio all just hanging out and staring at each other in silence. You tap out a message to Hamlet.
People are weird when we're not around.
Hamlet taps back.
Yeah, seriously. WTF.
A few minutes pass, and then Horatio leaves without saying anything. Eventually, there's a noise down the hall, and Gertrude says,
Alack, what noise is this?
as a messenger enters the room saying,
Young Laertes in a normal mood enters.
Larity ducks his head in the room and says,
Hey, have you seen my dad?
and Gertrude says,
Last I saw him, he'd fallen asleep behind the curtain in my bedroom.
and Larity says,
Cool. Thanks.
and he leaves, taking his messenger with him. And then more awkward, motionless silence.
Are we the only two interesting people in the world?
You tap out to Hamlet.
Dude, we need to find some radder people to spy on.
Hamlet replies. After another interminable silence between Gertrude and Claudius, Claudius finally says,
Well, I'm out. You coming?
and they both leave the room. You and Hamlet step away from the walls, making yourself visible for the first time in hours. This is boring and stupid. Let's go kill Claudius, he says.
Yeah. Totes.
Totes.
Go kill Claudius.
Alright, it's time.
You and Hamlet leave the room, but Claudius is nowhere to be found. By the time you track him down again, he's in the royal court talking to Laertes.
Okay. So you believe me when I tell you that Ophelia was brainwashed by Hamlet to kill Polonius, right?
Claudius is saying,
And so you are willing to sword fight both of them to the death, right? Ophelia because she killed your father, and Hamlet because he convinced her to do it?
Yes.
says Laertes.
You have told me a very credible story about how that happened. Plus, I never really liked my sister and think she's an inferior person. Not just because she's a woman. That jerk. Polonius is dead?
You tap to Hamlet. He replies, Possibly? I guess Claudius wants to frame us and get your brother to do murders to us.
Oh man, this just got personal.
You reply.
Hella personal.
To the extreme.
Laertes takes the sword offered to him by Claudius.
Okay, so if they show up, you'll kill them. And just to make sure, I've dipped the blade in poison. Also, I filled this goblet with poison too, so if they comment about being thirsty, be sure to offer them this refreshing beverage.
During the speech, you sneak up behind Claudius and, without being seen, dip your finger into the goblet. You sniff it. Returning to Hamlet, you quickly tap.
It's a basic Hebanon poison. Similar to henbane, but acts much quicker.
Cool, taps Hamlet.
You ready? Absolutely.
You say out loud, removing your hood and stepping from your camouflage. Claudius and Laertes both spin around, gaping at you, totally shocked.
Hey, Claudius.
You say.
Thanks for killing both our dads.
Both? Says Laertes. And at this point, Hamlet steps forward too. She's referring to mine, jerk, he says. Laertes lunges at Hamlet, but you flick your wrist and the next thing Laertes knows, your blade is sticking out of his neck. Hamlet glances at you. You bow.
He's all yours.
You say. Hamlet advances on Claudius. You killed my father. You killed my girlfriend's father. And you married my mom. Claudius takes a step backwards, and you grab his arm to hold him in place. I really don't think I like you, Hamlet says. Claudius gulps. He says.
It was an accident?
Ah, Hamlet laughs. An accident? Here, let me show you an accident. Hamlet mimes stumbling backwards. He knocks over the table Claudius put the poison goblet on, which sends the goblet and its contents flying towards Claudius. You grab Claudius by the chin and hold his mouth open so the poison falls in, and then allow the goblet itself to hit him, breaking his nose in 2 places.
That was poisoned.
He gasps, shocked. Hamlet picks up Laertes' sword and tosses it to you.
Why take chances?
You say, stabbing Claudius in the lungs. He dies in incredible pain, and you and Hamlet kiss. Mission accomplished.
Mission
Hamlet
accomplished.
says.
We did it.
You reply. You kiss some more, killing some assassins who snuck up behind you while I wasn't looking, without even breaking your smooch.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
Still making out when the entire royal court walks in the room and sees you there, smooching over Claudius's dead body. These makeouts over a corpse look pretty bad, but you use your totally getting away with it skills to totally get away with it.
Hells yeah.
You get away with it so well, in fact, that you two lovebirds are proclaimed the new Queen and King of Denmark. Nice.
Nice.
Congratulations,
Sorry.
Queen Ophelia. You have earned 670 ultra points. You killed a bad guy, you bettered yourself, you became royalty, and you learned a lot of really awesome skills.
Nice.
In this book, I mean. The end.
Huzzah! Look at that. Alright, what do we get? In the Hamlometer. Surely it has to be higher than not to be. I've gotten not to be every single time. Oh, come on. Your stats this adventure. Communication by stealth taps, 172. Nap snapped, 1. Poisons misused, 3. Stab stabbed, 1. Tasteless sexism, 1. Choices made, 16. Times you were, 1. Times you were not, 0. Bears married, also 0. Times borrowing / lending, 0. Alright, so I want to restart this adventure. Oh, actually, hold on. Because I realized... Nope, that wasn't it. Hold on. There was a button I pressed just... There it is. So, Art Gallery. Ah, there we go. So we can see all these. So that's the first one. This is the Murder of Gonzago. Good. These are... I don't know what these are. Oh, this is where you get to... Oh, there's a way to be the captain of a pirate ship, apparently. I think this is it. So this is where Ophelia goes on vacation with a bunch of hot people and yeah, and has a grand old time. This is when Ophelia gets her head chopped off. Oh, this is when she becomes an amazing terrorist hunter in England. I believe that's Ryan North. This is the one we just did. This is where Claudius, we prove through the justice system. This is where she invents the thermometer and they live happily ever after. This is where we kill him with a hot air balloon. This is just the 3 characters. To be or not to be, all the different choices, I guess. This is the whole map. Alright. Alright, let's start. I'm going to restart the adventure because we have like 10 minutes left. But I want to play a little bit as Hamlet Sr.
William Shakespeare, 1564
we did all this.
AD to whenever he died, was well known for borrowing from existing literature when writing his plays.
Oops.
Romeo and Juliet is pretty much lifted entirely.
We did all
from
this already,
Arthur Brooks'
sorry.
poem, The Tragical...
Choose your character. Here we go.
You have just been born. Congratulations, good work on that thing. Now, surprise! Babies are boring, so we're gonna jump ahead in time to a point where you're an adult. You are King Hamlet. All of Denmark is under your command. Everything's going so great for you. At present, you are in Norway, where just this afternoon, you led Denmark's forces to an astounding victory during which you personally killed the Norwegian king. Stabbed him right through the head, you did. His eye popped out and rolled on the ground, and then you stepped on it.
Oh.
Whoa. Your ass is bad. You are a badass. You decide after a day of being good at fighting, you should have a nap. You've earned it. You settle down in an orchard for some nappy times. During your delightful rest, your brother pours some poison in your ear, and you die. Surprise! You didn't know poisons work that way. Wow. You've barely made one choice so far, and you're dead already. Way to go, champ. You're really good at books, huh? It's just a stellar job you're doing here, Chuckles.
There we go.
The end. Okay, fine. I feel sorry for you. Here's a choice that you can choose. Become
a ghost.
Good news. The afterlife exists, and it's full of ghosts. You know this because you're now one of them. You get to spend all your time slamming doors, rattling chains, and telling on the person who killed you. But here's the thing. I, the author, told you, the reader, that your brother poured poison in your ear while you napped. But you, as Hamlet Sr., have no idea how you died. You slept through the whole thing, so you need to figure out who killed you if you're going to revenge yourself on your murderer, assuming you even were murdered. Because remember that, for all you know, you could have died of a heart attack.
It's true.
This is an example of dramatic irony. Only since we're in the second person, it's an amazing example of an entirely new species of dramatic irony. Something I'm going to call second-person pronoun paradoxical autodramatic irony. You are now aware of information that you're not aware of. This should be fun. Except that you died of a heart attack.
No.
Listen in on people's conversations and see if any of them talk about how they totally killed you. You hang around Norway for a bit, trying to listen in on what people are saying, but they're all speaking Norwegian. You only speak Danish, so understanding Norwegian is a little difficult. It all sounds like Swedish to you, which actually makes a lot of sense. since Danish, Norwegian, and Swedish are all related North Germanic languages, descended from early linguistic differentiation between regular Germanic speakers and North Germanic speakers around 200 AD. You nod your head, agreeing that all of this is both accurate and extremely interesting. While these three languages are generally supposed to be mutually intelligible, you find you can understand Norwegian speakers only if you're concentrating, which you are, and if they're speaking slowly and clearly, which they're not, as everyone is running around upset about war, and all these kings getting killed. Ironically, Norwegian speakers can understand Danish easier than Danish speakers understand Norwegian, but that doesn't help you much.
I wonder if that's true.
That would only be useful if you were playing as a Norwegian king, whose ghost is stowed away on your army's boat headed back to Denmark. But I haven't given you that option, even though it would be extremely awesome. If you're wondering what happens to this vengeful ghost king, I can tell you only this. The answer exists in your imagination. But here's the good news. It turns out written Danish and written Norwegian are actually pretty similar. So you spend the next several nights haunting people, quietly reading their diaries while they sleep peacefully in their beds. And you don't know this, but ghosts do this all the time. Ghosts just love sneaking a peek at the secrets of the living. It takes a while, but you finally find the diary of someone who wrote, on the day you died, that she was wandering by a garden, minding her own business, when she saw some Danish guy pour something in some other Danish guy's ear. Hey, that sounds like what could have happened to you. But remember, you don't know that's exactly what happened to you because of the new irony we invented. Wake up this person and ask her about it. Wake up this person and hold up a piece of paper where you've written down a question asking her about it.
This one?
You bang some pots and pans together until she wakes up.
Hey, I'm a ghost, but not of anyone you know. Listen, tell me more about that garden murder you saw,
You say. In response, the woman looks at you terrified.
Oh, I should have written it
She says
down.
something in Norwegian, and you suddenly feel dumb. You're already a spooky ghost, but now you're a spooky ghost talking to her in a language she doesn't even know. Anyway, by the time you find a piece of paper and write down, "Hey, I don't want to kill you," it's too late. The woman has run out of the room, and every time she sees you, she gets mad and throws something at you and leaves. You kind of blew it here, King Hamlet. You keep reading her diary every night for a few months, hoping that she'll mention more about the things she saw, but it's mostly filled with some really personal stuff about her feelings, and you kind of feel honestly creepy about this whole situation. The stuff that isn't personal is about how she wonders if ghosts read diaries, and if they do, if they know what totally awful people they do. Long story short, eventually you leave her alone, never
Damn.
find out who murdered you, and settle down to a nice pleasant afterlife with the other ghosts in Ghost Norway. You guys do charades with each other and everything. It's pretty fun. The end.
All right, I wonder if I can go back real quick to the to writing it down, because I stupidly, yeah, that was very dumb of me. Man. Poisons misused 1, choices made 7, times you were not. Yeah, 1. Restart from a checkpoint. Oh, I get to keep them all. That's awesome. This one.
Good news. The
Okay.
afterlife exists, and it's full of ghosts. You know this because you're now one
This
of them.
one.
You hang around Norway for a bit,
Quick,
trying
quick,
to
quick,
listen
quick.
in on what people are saying, but they're all speaking Norwegian.
Okay, yes.
You
Hold up
only
piece of
speak-
paper. We were
You
told.
grab a piece of paper and write down the words, "Hey, I'm not here to kill you. I just want to know about that murder you maybe witnessed." But in Danish, of course. Haha. You gently shake the woman awake while holding the piece of paper up in front of her. She's freaked out initially. She was just woken up by a ghostly apparition from beyond the grave. But once she reads your note, she looks at you suspiciously and says, "For real?" You flip over the paper and write, "Yeah, I'm the guy that got killed maybe. And I guess I want to revenge my death or whatever. But please speak slowly, as Norwegian is not my native language. I'm from Denmark."
Oh,
The woman says in Danish.
I speak Danish too.
Yay!
Kick ass.
You reply.
Why didn't
She
she
tells you what
reply?
she saw and gives you a physical description of the guy. Unfortunately, the man answering to her description could only be one person. Your brother, Claudius.
No.
Congratulations, my king. You now know what you know, so that whole second-person pronoun paradoxical auto-dramatic irony thing has been slain. You've been awarded 500 experience points. Plus, you've unlocked a new quest. Revenge yourself on Claudius. You're feeling pretty chuffed about this whole situation. Okay, let's revenge your death. Your murderer is getting away with it in Denmark. Swim back to Denmark. Wait for the next boat back to Denmark.
Yeah, see that one.
You go down to the docks and start poking your head into the bridge of every boat you can find, flipping through the captain's logs and itineraries until you find one that's headed for Denmark. And it leaves in just a few minutes. Nice. This is really convenient. During the voyage, you poke around the boat looking for things to amuse yourself with. You experiment with doing some ghost things, like putting your head inside a barrel of wine and then making your head corporeal. But that just causes the barrel to explode with the sudden pressure inside, and makes you get wine in your eyes, so you don't do that more than a few times. It only takes a while before your boat arrives in Denmark. Arrive in Denmark.
Arrive in Denmark.
You make it back to Denmark. The first thing you want to do is track down your brother to take revenge. Turns out, that's really easy because he's in the first place you check, the royal court. He's there with your widow, Gertrude. Weird. They're acting all close and stuff. Oh well, he's probably just trying to comfort her after your untimely death. Ha! Brothers are really great. Though, maybe not. Listen in on what they're saying.
Yep, that one.
Hey, Gertrude,
Says Claudius.
I sure am happy that we married each other, even if it was so soon after your first husband died under mysterious circumstances.
Whoa, that certainly was, in terms of exposition, a very efficient sentence. You decide instantly that your initial revenge plan, haunt a mirror so that instead of Claudius's reflection, he sees you, and then you mirror his movements, so he's not really sure what's going on, is needlessly complex and stupid. Dude killed you and married your widow. Since you are from olden times, you have an extremely old-fashioned sense of ownership over female sexuality, so this really gets stuck in your craw. Instead of spooking Claudius, you decide to kill Claudius, complete the quest. Get your son to kill
let's do this
Claudius
one.
instead. This is awesome, and it's going to go great, because who better to know how to kill someone than someone who has recently been through that getting killed to death process themselves. You wait until Claudius is sleeping, next to your beloved Gertrude for some reason. Huh, that's weird. Then wake him up by tapping him on the forehead.
Oh, that's if you chose the other one.
It's me,
You whisper.
your brother, the one you murdered.
Ah, crap.
Claudius whispers back.
Ghosts are real?
Real pissed at you, anyway.
You reply.
Listen, I'll cut to the chase. We are from a time where an eye for an eye is considered to be a good thing to build a justice system around. So I am here to kill you.
How?
Claudius asks, his eyes wide, terrified.
Oh, geez. So many ways.
You say, counting them off on your fingers.
I could startle you and make you have a heart attack, but that takes time. I could throw a pot at your head until you die, but that lacks
That's
grace.
grace.
Instead, check this out.
You move your ghost body so it's floating right above Claudius. He stares at you, his eyes wide.
I'm sorry.
He whispers.
Way too late for that.
You reply. You lower yourself to him, face to face, and keep going. His face dominates your field of vision, and then you're inside his skull, inside the pink of his brain, his blood darkly obscuring your sight. You sink slowly deeper and deeper into him, lining up your ghost body with his regular body, until you are just about
Oh my
occupying
God.
exactly the same space. Then you make yourself corporeal. What happens next happens so quickly and with such force that it's hard to describe. But Claudius explodes everywhere, captures most of it. I mean, you're fine, but man is this disgusting. Literally disgusting. Gertrude wakes up, dripping in gore, screaming. You, my friend, have achieved revenge. You roll over onto your back and apologize to Gertrude. You explain over her screams, and you tell her that you still love her, even though she married your brother mere weeks after you died. But you can't be with her anymore, you say. You tell her you need to go find your own path.
Sorry about the bad.
You say, floating up through the roof. You spend the rest of the afterlife acting as an immortal judge from beyond the grave, exploding those who have committed the most egregious crimes, merely blowing the hands off those who have been awful people, but still, you feel, deserve a second chance. People whisper your name in fear. Criminals are a cowardly, superstitious lot after all, and it works out pretty good for you. You do a lot of good work for a lot of people, and yep, it turns out that blowing up bad guys never does get old.
Yay! Wow. All right. Oh, that's the. I mean, this is pretty fun. There's lots and lots of different endings, lots of different choices you can make. This is pretty fun. I was hoping for there to be more art, but I guess I didn't realize, right? Like Eugene mentioned, this was a book first, a proper book first, and I didn't know that. Choices made 6 times you were not. It's both 0. Interesting. All right, so. Yeah, so we'll finish for now. So what's coming up for me tomorrow? I will be continuing Adan. I'll be continuing The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. On Sunday, Felicia will rejoin me. We'll continue Disco Elysium. On Tuesday, Felicia will also rejoin me, and we'll continue Lego Horizon Adventures. And then on next Wednesday, I'll be doing a ToeJam and Earl Two-Fer. The original ToeJam and Earl game on the Genesis, and ToeJam and Earl in Panic on Funkotron, also on the Genesis. Both of them are available on the Genesis, the Nintendo Switch Online Genesis collection. So that's where I'll be playing it. I'll be playing it on the Switch. Yeah, I'll be playing on the Switch next week again. Awesome. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me. Before I go, let me quickly check to see who is streaming as this is happening. So, Elle is streaming. The Tales of Graces, but also about making AI work for you, which I don't think is a real thing. But also, I think Gone Games and Jib84, or Gib84, I guess, depending, I believe are also streaming. So let me get their their links here. Sorry, I just saw Gone Games, and he's got a thing where he's dancing. All right. Here's Elle's link first. There's Elle. Again, they'll be playing Tales of Graces later on the PS3. And then here is Gone Games. And again, just to let you guys know, Gone Games is a Spanish language streamer. I'm not sure about his proficiency with English, but if you go watch him right now, he's playing Death's Gambit Afterlife, and he's got a gif of himself dancing in the bottom right corner, which is amazing. And then finally, we've got Gib84 playing Sonic Wings, which is a shmup. Gib84. There you go. Whoop, I actually put an L there, but it's just Gib84, no L. That was my fat finger accidentally hitting the L. So yeah, go check him out. Give him some likes. Let him know I sent you. And yeah, if you've not played this game, please pick it up. If you would prefer to read a book, you can pick up the book. As Eugene mentioned, this was a book originally before it became a game. So yeah, have fun. It's very fun. I really enjoyed it. It's very funny, especially if you know the Hamlet. If you know Hamlet, the real Hamlet, all the different things you can do is fantastic. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow for more Wind Waker at my regular time of 10 p.m. Singapore time, 9 a.m. Eastern. Bye bye.